At the beginning of Parshas Vayechi, Yaakov is on his deathbed, and he has a conversation with his son, Yosef. And it seems like it's a private conversation, and he recalls an incident that happened many years before. He says, Mesa alai Rachel, many years ago, your mother, Yosef, my wife, my beloved wife, Rachel, she died. And I buried her at the side of the road, right there in the middle of nowhere, on a highway, the side of a highway. I buried her on the side of the road. I didn't even bring her to a city. I certainly didn't bring her to the Maris HaMachpelah. And I know that for many years, you've been hurt by this. Yosef had been very hurt and offended. He had a question that he never asked his father. Why didn't you respect mom? Why didn't you bury her where she should have been buried? And I know that you're holding this inside, Yosef, and I want to explain to you. I want to tell you, I know you're hurt and upset, and I want to tell you why I did it. Because I understood, I had Ruach HaKodesh, that many, many years from now, the Jewish people are going to go into Galus. And when they will, they are going to be passing by Beis Lechem. And they're going to be sad and brokenhearted and lonely and worried and fearful. And Hashem told me, bury Rachel right there, because on that lonely highway, one day the Jewish people are going to pass. And when they do, Mama Rachel is going to come out, as Rashi describes from the Medrash. She's going to come out and stand on her grave and pray for the Jewish people. Seemingly, the Jewish people are on their way out, and Rachel has come to say goodbye. Yaakov had said this in order to appease Yosef. And how did it help him feel better? Perhaps because Yosef himself had experienced being banished, being sent away, being lost, being thrown out of his home, of his family. He had experienced Galus for decades. He had been alone and by himself. And at that point, he was so sad, and he was so troubled, and he was so lonely. And the worst arrives when he faces a specific challenge with Eshes Potiphar, and he very much needs chizuk. And he got that chizuk. But the Medrash tells us in this week's Parsha something that most of us might not know. The Torah says in Parshas Vayechi, in our Parsha, Midei Abir Yaakov. Yosef got energy from the great, mighty strength of Yaakov. And who was that? That was Rachel. Many of us have heard that Yosef saw a picture of his father, so to speak, in the window, and that gave him chizuk. But Rabbi Ami in the Medrash says otherwise. The great strength of Yaakov was not the face of Yaakov, it was the face of Rachel. Rachel was Yaakov's strength. That means that when Yosef was in his most lonely, most difficult moment, he got chizuk from his mother. His mother appeared to him, and her face gave him chizuk to get past his nisyonos and galus. Perhaps this is why, because of Yosef's own experience and own traumas facing galus and facing loneliness, that's the reason why when he understood that his mother had been separated from them and buried in a lonely place, it was for a reason. It was for a reason to save the Jewish people and help them feel less lonely and come out and give them chizuk on their way out into galus. That was inspiring to him, and therefore, so to speak, he could understand and forgive his father. But there's one more point, and that is, Rachel is alone. Rachel is alone. She's not buried with her family. She's not buried with her husband. She's not buried with her people. She's on the side of a highway alone. We see clearly that is uncomfortable, and that's not fun. That's not pleasant. What does Rachel do with her loneliness? What she does is she looks to other Jews who are suffering and having difficulty, and she gets out of her grave and stands and gives them chizuk, and inspires them and gives them chizuk on their way into Galus when they're having trouble. What we learn from this is, if we ever, God forbid, have experienced a taste of loneliness, what is someone to do with loneliness? The answer is, take your loneliness and share your understanding and your experience with other people in order to encourage them, in order to help them feel less lonely. That is the lesson that Rachel teaches us.